Hello everyone and welcome back to another Movie Nights movie review. Today we are talking about The Creator, directed by Gareth Edwards. And heads up, this is a full spoiler review. We're going to be diving deep into the details of the movie. So if you haven't seen it, please bookmark it and come back and watch it later. Or if you don't care about spoilers, we ask that you please just don't spoil it for anybody else.
And for those that might not be familiar with Gareth Edwards' previous work, if the poster for The Creator didn't tell you, he directed Star Wars Rogue One.
Yes.
As well as the 2016 Godzilla movie? 2014 Godzilla movie.
Yes. So, yeah, let's kind of dive in, kind of right into this. If you've seen our Out of the Theater reaction, which if you haven't, we'll link it in the description, you'll know that we're both pretty down the middle about this movie. I lean positive. For last time I spoke to you, you were just dead center.
I'm like dead center, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of take deeper dives into things we liked. Cinematography, ridiculous. Everyone knows, like, yes, this was shot on a camera you can buy at Best Buy and everything. Should that inspire you? Absolutely. Are they also not telling you about the millions of dollars it takes of lighting and other equipment to make it look like that? They're also doing that, yes.
It reminded me of the Zack Snyder short film that he did that was shot on his iPhone, and you look at it and you're like, okay, yeah, but then you put it into so many different softwares and it looks like a movie.
You had a crane.
Yeah, exactly. You had a crane that hoisted up an iPhone, like.
Yeah.
You know, but very impressive that you're able to use resources like that, but I could go pick up that camera too. Doesn't mean it's going to look like The Creator.
Yes, if it saves you money, which the movie's only made for $80 million, take it. Something else that you could really feel in the film is the real locations.
Yes.
It makes such a difference when you can tell a movie actually went to a location to shoot versus just all green screen all the time, and you do feel it.
The CGI on a whole was also very impressive.
I don't think there was a poor CGI shot in the movie.
Especially like all the robot like police officers all looked very good.
There are a couple CGI explosions where you can tell they're CGI, but they didn't look bad. Like the Sims, the smoke Sims weren't bad. Like the fire didn't go too crazy. Like it looked perfectly fine. Also just the overall, like you mentioned with the robots and stuff, like just the set design, the production design, like it was in the world building, like the first like 20 minutes of the movie when they established like the war that happened and you see like the president talk to everybody, like I was like, I was in it. I was like, damn.
And
this is cool.
I think something else too, that I mentioned in the Out of Theater review as well, just Gareth Edwards' ability to showcase scale.
Yes.
And that goes through Rogue One, that goes through Godzilla, just how big he is able to make these worlds and still tell this very personal story within that.
Yeah. It is a good point, too, because both Godzilla and the Death Star never felt bigger than in those films. Kind of diving into some negatives, but I'm going to start with the positive in that I thought that the child actor was amazing in the film.
She was good. Yes.
And I thought that her relationship and chemistry with John David Washington really worked. And as we mentioned in the Out of Theater review, the movie doesn't have enough breathing room at all. When the film starts with him and Gemma Chan, who's an incredible actress and she does great work here, I don't care about the relationship. Like, they literally had like a 2-minute montage of them about to have a baby and like messing around and everything, but it's like, that's it. And then bam, 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 she's presumed dead. Like,
he looks at a photo and goes, I remember that.
Yeah, literally.
It's like, I would hope you would.
Yeah. And you know, and it just, the movie just felt like it had to do this, but I was so interested in what was going on that I kind of wanted to sit in it for a while. And you really don't get a moment with that. The only times you really do get that are the best parts of the movie, and it's the heaven through line. I thought that's the only through line throughout the film that worked on every level. The conversation that he has with the girl, the name of the facility, and it really came to at the end, which to me is the most emotional part of the movie, when he goes in to allegedly kill the child, and she says, "Am I going to heaven?" Like, that was so well done.
Yeah. And
I think if we had more moments throughout the film to sit and feel in those times, it would have worked out a lot more. I gotta say, just while I'm thinking about it, another moment I thought was fucking cool and emotionally it worked was when, and I love that they didn't do it by explaining it, they just showed you, and it's when the soldier dies, but there's a what are the robots called in this movie again? It's not replicant. It's
synthoids.
It's something like that.
Synthetic. Synth something.
Yeah. And then one of the robot bodies is next to it.
Yeah.
And they're like, quick, let's scan his brain, and they scan the brain, they turn it into a chip, and then they plug it into the robot. They're like, we have like 30 seconds. And then like it comes back and is like they're trying to get information, but all the person can do is look at their dead body and be like, oh my God, please tell my, like, you know, like I thought that was crazy good. Like that whole thing was awesome. And the actor playing the robot did such a good job, because like just 5 minutes earlier, he was a completely different character. And then that switch, like, I thought they did great.
Because then you then find the other guy is the same actor who's like sees the body and goes, oh shit, and then goes, because he's just a replicant.
And what a genius way of saving money by reusing actors.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of cool money-saving things in this. The only money-saving thing I didn't enjoy in this was just how convenient the third act was, which I do feel like might have been a money thing. Most films...
Which is very funny given that they reshot the entire third act of Rogue One.
Yeah. Most films when it comes to like third acts, you want to put final challenges in front of your characters to make them overcome those challenges. And there was a challenge to overcome, but getting to that challenge was so easy. How I would compare it is, let's say you're setting up a third act of the movie, and the thing is you have to get through the American Ninja Warrior course, and then you have to put a cube into a hole. They focused on putting the cube into the hole as the difficult part. They just blew through the American Ninja Warrior course.
Yeah.
Like, when really the tension should have been on the former of like, how did they just blow through this like so quick, you know? Yeah. And specifically in regard to them being able to evacuate the base
so quickly,
get on the plane so quickly, everything just going like that to the point where they're all watching it happen and they're helpless like the other people. It was just a lot of stuff that wasn't really pre-established. That was a bit pulled me out of the movie a bit.
I think also a couple things that hinder the movie as a whole too are some of the dialogue is pretty rough. Specifically, it kind of runs into that Avatar issue of like, hey, we're the military. Like, we want you to know we're the military, so we're gonna say the most like random war dialogue, like the one point when she goes like, I'll see you in Valhalla.
Yeah.
But it was not like an ironic thing. It wasn't like a joke that they set up. Like, that was just full seriousness.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point with the Avatar problem, because this movie does the same thing where their emphasis is really trying to show that the non-human characters are human, so much so that they make the human characters cartoons. And this movie has that same mistake as well. And both to the positive of this and Avatar of, I fully buy that the Na'vi and the robots in this film are human and have like human capabilities and they feel real to me.
Yeah.
The human characters just don't feel real. And while the characters don't feel real, I thought the performances were pretty solid. I thought Allison Janney did great. Like, you know, I didn't think, I mean, other than I, Tonya, I haven't really been able to picture her in something that's truly menacing where I believed it. And I, Tonya was a good example. And then in this, like, I fully believe she was going to kill everybody in that movie.
But her best role is still the starfish in Finding Nemo.
Of course.
I also think that just the length of the movie and the ideas that they were playing with, like you said, it was very plot convenient toward the end, and it felt very rushed at that point. And they were playing with a lot of heavy themes in the movie. And it just felt like the movie either needed more time to expand on those or to split this up into not even a trilogy, but just a two-parter type thing. I think would have benefited it.
The multiple movie argument, I understand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't really need it. Like, there's a way to do this in 2 to 2.5 hours and feel wholly satisfying. You know, I mean, there's plenty of examples of movies that have been able to do that. Like, the original Star Wars is 2 hours. Yeah. And yes, there are 2 other Star Wars movies. But had they never made 2 other Star Wars movies, that movie still feels like a satisfying conclusion in that world.
Well, I think the that argument, or my argument, sorry, is more of just like the going off of the movie we had.
True.
Like, in its genesis, yes, this movie does work with what they wanted to do in that time frame. But given what we saw, it seems like there was a lot more to expand on. If that's an additional hour to make it a 3-hour movie or 2-2-hour movie, whatever be it, just with what they wanted to do.
And what I'll also give the movie credit for is, you know, we're kind of saying like, oh, could have been multiple movies. I'm sure getting the funding for this movie was a challenge in its own.
Because $80 million is a hefty budget for an original sci-fi movie.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a 20th century distribution, but there's multiple logos in front of this movie, meaning a lot of companies had to come together to make it happen. And yeah, and look, it's a type of movie that I'm happy to support, and I like Gareth Edwards. I want to see more of what he does. I just think it's a really, really good film that has its flaws, which, is going to happen.
I think that the movie also stumbles a bit in just, it's not really trying to do anything new with the concepts it's just introducing. And there's nothing wrong with tropes and everything. It was just like, when Blade Runner came out, the idea of these replicants, you're like, oh, snap, this very much is very heavily inspired by that. And I think just if there was something fresh to it, but there's nothing wrong with just recreating. And I think that that's kind of what's keeping me at the it's fine level, because I feel like I didn't take anything new away from it.
I don't know. I took, personally, on my journey with the film, I took a lot of new things away from it. Yeah, it's very clearly inspired by things that you mentioned. Yeah. There's even a great Blade Runner shout-out in the opening where there's a little thing that says more human than human on it, and I was like, all right, that's clever. The use of AI and the use of how it goes. Yeah, there's a lot of Terminator in the film as well, I thought that the way it explored itself was fairly new, and it was fairly fresh to see. Yes, it's based on ideas we've seen before, but every story ever told is just some form of Shakespeare or earlier of, oh my God, what's that? Homer. There we go. And it's, it's the same argument there. But, overall, to summarize again, I thought it was a really good film. Yeah. It's a film that I might even buy the physical media of, mainly just because of how beautiful it looks. And it's a film that I would love to see expanded on. But, it has to make money first, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah. There should be more films like this. I encourage studios to take more risks and do something like this. However, this wasn't the knock out of the park that this kind of movie needed to be to spark that conversation. Yeah. But at the same time, it shouldn't be on the movie shoulders to have to carry that. It should be its own thing. And as its own thing, I thought it was fine.
No, absolutely. And Gareth Edwards is a very good director. And clearly he's proven himself with just being able to handle these large budget movies, a Star Wars movie, a Godzilla movie, getting these IPs. So being able to see him take something fresh and new as an original idea and work with that is very cool. And I do look forward to what he's doing next. I just imagine probably with how the creator will probably be doing at the box office, it might be something a little more smaller scale budget-wise. Yeah. But he's good at what he does.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize again, this film should put a lot of modern blockbusters to shame with how good it looks.
Yes. The same thing with Avatar. Everyone else should be just...
The big difference with Avatar is Avatar does cost the same amount. They just work 4 times as long. Yes. This film cost a fraction of what blockbusters cost, and it just goes to prove that they're overspending in the wrong places. Yeah. And I think it's a great lesson to be learned there.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what we thought of The Creator, you guys. Thanks for watching our spoiler review. What did you think? Please let us know in the comments. We'd love to start the conversation. And with that down, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.